What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode 9 of Naked Hog Podcast. We're coming to you from our greenhouse out here, same place we've been doing it for the last few episodes, and the greenhouse is picking up, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made it look even prettier. I don't know if
Yeah.
you can see that, but it's even snazzier with this green stalk.
Which we're going to talk
created
about
there.
that a little bit later. Yep, we're going to talk about that green stalk. But I thought we would kind of start out with how we woke up this morning. We woke up this morning to being a little bit older parents now, right?
We're the parent of a little bit slightly older child now.
Yeah, so we woke up to yet another teenager this morning.
Bouncing out
So
of bed saying, happy birthday to Lily.
yeah, Lily, she had her 13th birthday today, and she is the one that does the ducks, the cats, and the herbs.
Yep.
And
the baking.
Yep, and that's the big thing she really does. We
Really
won't talk a lot about it on the vlog or on the podcast, but she really bakes
her
a
goodies,
lot.
like some of her recent goodies, like for that week. We should make her, ask her if she wants to do a goodie for that week, and we can show you guys in front of the camera as we eat it, of course. But we can show you her latest and greatest baking goodie.
Yeah, she made some chocolate chip cookies for Thanksgiving that were They were great.
I think the cheesecake kind of
And the cheesecake was amazing.
The cheesecake just got the gold star there.
So good.
It was so good.
So good. Oh,
I'm sipping on hot chocolate now.
but how does that make you feel? Do you feel old having two teenagers?
No, I mean
You don't look old.
Oh, thank you. It was a mile marker for me when our first daughter turned 13. That was kind of like oh wow, we've stepped into another level there. But now the second daughter's 13, and I'm like, yeah, I like having two teenagers. I like it.
Yeah, but then in a couple of years we'll have a third one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like 2 more years and we'll have 3 teenagers in the house.
Ooh.
And then the little boy comes up last. Poor
Yeah.
thing. He's gonna be 13 when they're all out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time all the girls are gone.
He's got another 7 years till he turns 13. So by the time he starts turning 13, we'll be over the we're feeling old thing, and we'll just be just content to be close to having, be in that next phase of life where we got the empty
for
nest.
The grandchildren.
Yeah,
I'll be preparing for that phase of life.
Yeah, so that'll be good. That will be good. So, this week
had some chilly weather.
Yeah, we had some really chilly weather.
Had to cover some things.
Yeah. So. We covered up Miles. Really, there's just these raised beds here.
Yeah.
We covered up. You can't see them; they're off the camera. I'm pointing to them, but
covered Miles's greens, the strawberries. We had to close up the greenhouse.
Close up the greenhouse. Yep.
We didn't cover anything in the big garden. We just kind of whatever.
It is what it is. It's all cold hardy stuff. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to freeze.
Right? Yeah.
And then the other thing we did in the greenhouse. We have these, and I'll pull one of the trays out for those of you watching and not listening.
Let's see it.
We need to water these. These are a bit dry, actually.
Yeah.
But we have some of these trays of these ones we started a little bit later than the rest, and they were slow to come along, and I think it was because we got some really cold weather shortly after they started to germinate. And
right after they germinated.
Yeah.
That's when the temperature just dropped all of a sudden.
So I think it was because we got that cold snap it was only really a cold night or two right after these started to germinate. Well, we didn't have these on heat mats. So in thinking about it, even though they would have kept growing and would have been fine without the heat mats, they would have been really slow to kind of come along.
They don't get up there as fast as you're expecting them to do if you let them be exposed to any sort of temperature drop like that. So we really should have kept them a little bit warmer.
Yep. So we went ahead, we got out our heat mats and got all these really young seedlings on the heat mats, and they've really kind of started to come along a lot quicker. They've shot up since we put them on those heat mats.
Now, like he said, I am going to have to start watering a little more than I have been. I need to water them again. I did water yesterday, but I need to do it again today. So it's, especially when you have them on a heat mat or you have them, you're warming them up in any sort of way, it's going to dry them out faster. So you may end up having to water daily.
Yeah, and it definitely dries them out faster because it makes sense, right? Because it's got the heat underneath it. Now, the other thing that we've been talking about lately is we've been watching these videos Sorry, I'm just brushing all this stuff off the table here.
There you go.
The other thing we've been talking about lately is we've been seeing other people's veggies in their videos.
We got some greens envy. We got some
so
veggie jealousy going on.
We look at people like Just Dig It Farms and Haas Tools and some of the others out there. Deep South Homestead. Some of the others, they're already harvesting greens. Tracy over at Just Dig It Farms, she has beautiful heads of cabbages already.
Unbelievable. I don't know how she has a magic trick to where she starts them early enough. Obviously, they're already like almost coming to fruition. So she started them like early when she was supposed to. But she has a magic trick to where they don't succumb to bug pressure. They just look like they just got dropped off out of a magazine. They just look immaculate. And they're just, these greens are big and beautiful and luscious. And it's the ideal garden. And I'm just so jealous.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we have, if we back up a little bit, when we think about this time last year, we were talking about it. We had a bunch of greens this time last year too.
We did when we started earlier. We did.
This year we were slacking, honey. We were not on our game this year when it came to planting fall veggies.
We were
kind of behind the curve.
A little bit lazy. We were like, well, we'll do it next week, and then next week turned into next month, and we're way behind.
I would say slow and lazy. I would say we got busy. Like we've just been it's been a busy fall. Busy fall. So we should have been a little bit more on the ball. We had lettuce. We were harvesting lettuce for Thanksgiving last year. We were harvesting, we weren't harvesting collards, but we were harvesting the all-top turnips that we had planted, and I think some other greens.
And one thing about the holidays are fun, and it's fun to go, do stuff and run around and make all these plans. But one thing about having a homestead, and if you're planning to do a fall garden, you have to actually be home long enough to do a fall garden. You have to be home long enough to manage that fall garden. So the holidays can get you real distracted and get real preoccupied, and then whoops, time went by, and then now we're late putting in our veggies.
But speaking of the holidays, we hope you guys had an incredible Thanksgiving. For those of you not in the U.S. that aren't having Thanksgiving, well, you should just have good food around now anyway, because it's holiday time.
You should just do the big banquet just because.
Just because it's like coming up on Christmas time, so why not? Like it's the holiday season. And let me tell you, I'm sure I probably mentioned it in the other podcasts. I don't know if I did or not, but I'm gonna mention it again, and probably will mention it in the next podcast too. It's my favorite time of year. I love the holiday season. It just makes me happy. It's always been my favorite time of year.
Thanksgiving and Christmas are my favorite. Obviously, I think they're most people's favorite. They are my favorite. However, Halloween, I could just kind of skip over that. We could completely skip Halloween, and it could not be a holiday anymore, and I wouldn't be sad. I go for the Thanksgiving and the Christmas.
Halloween wouldn't bother me to get rid of, but the one thing I like about Halloween is it kind of gets you prepped for that. You start to, you get the candy and the pumpkins kind of going, and you start to get that sweet tooth itch for the holiday foods, and that's kind of what Halloween kind of gets you in that. And then right after Halloween, I know a lot of people, it's real controversial to do this before Thanksgiving, but we started listening to Christmas music November 1st.
Yes, that's the thing with our family, because he and I would listen to Christmas music like probably all year long if you let us. We love Christmas music, so we had to put a date on it, because other people in our family and our children were telling us, you can't listen to Christmas music yet, and other people don't want to hear Christmas music in July. So we were like, well, when's appropriate? When can we start listening to the Christmas music? So we put a date on it. November 1st is when we can start.
Well, and I like that because it's something that you get to look forward to.
Yeah.
So I like that.
It kind of saves it all year long, and it becomes more special.
If I watch the Christmas movies all year long, so I kind of have the kids when they were smaller, and Miles now, they want to watch Christmas movies all the time. I kind of put the kibosh on it, because look, I want to watch it during Christmas. I don't want to be so sick of it by, it's like Octonauts. I don't want to, by the time Miles grows out of this phase, I don't want to watch Octonauts ever again. Like,
I'll be good for
a lot of years. Like Octonauts.
So it becomes a special thing, a seasonal thing,
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's special for them, I think.
Yeah. And I want to get in our life together as a homesteading family. I want to get to a point where we look forward to seasonal veggies in the season that we grow them in. And, I want to back off of the grocery store mentality to where I can just have that vegetable all year long. I want to look forward to having that vegetable in its season.
I know, but here, that's really hard because... I want salad in the middle of summer when it's hot.
I know.
I don't want salad when
I'm not strict
about 30 degrees outside.
I know, and I totally cheat. I run to Walmart and I get my salad in the summer when I want my salad. I cheat and I don't eat seasonally. But I do want to get to the point where I get a little more seasonal with it, to where it gets a little more special, because I do tend to save my cravings for okra until summer comes, and then I have all the okra I can stand until I'm sick of it.
Oh, yeah. Same with squash.
All year long until it comes again,
Yep. So, some foods I think are like that. Okra,
just
squash.
Those seasonal veggies that only happen in that season, and you've waited so long for them, and you're just dying to have them, and then you just gorge on them until you're sick of it.
But like collards are, doesn't matter what season it is. Collards and cornbread is always good.
And tomatoes can be grown either in the spring or fall, so you can have it twice a year. And there's some things that are just in Louisiana, we can pretty much try to have it for most of the year, the majority of the year.
Now, Jason and Brooke mentioned on their last podcast, and if you don't watch the Cogcast podcast, go over to Coulee Farm podcast and watch it. Great podcast. We love them. All of you know that already. But they mentioned on one of their last podcasts that they talked about turkey and how it's controversial. Is it overrated or not? What do you think? Is turkey overrated or not?
Yeah, that's become kind of the traditional iconic bird because, at the time that's probably what they had. That was the probably the bird of choice because that was what they had in abundance of, and that's what they had to eat at the time. And that became the traditional bird for that holiday, and now it's become a thing. But I don't quite see it as a necessity. I don't see it as something that you have to have. I know you do. He sees it as, okay, it's not Thanksgiving unless you have a turkey. But for me, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just because turkey's not quite my favorite.
I forgive you, baby. I love you anyway. But look, guys, you got to have turkey, okay? You got to. If you don't have turkey, how are you going to have turkey gravy? And if you don't have turkey gravy, what are you going to put on your stuffing? You have to.
There's other kinds of gravy.
Look.
Other kinds.
I know a lot of people out there are scared of turkey because it's always dry or whatever. Look, if you're cooking your turkey and it's dry, it's because you're cooking it wrong. When you're cooking your turkey, if you're sticking that temp probe in the turkey breast and wait until it gets up to 160, 165, and then you're turning it off and pulling it out of the oven, you're waiting too long, and that's why your turkey meat's dry. I don't care what the USDA says. Maybe I shouldn't say that, and nobody, if you get salmonella poisoning, don't hold me accountable, right? No. But look, we cook our turkey to 157 degrees, and that is it.
Right, and we just like to do it a certain way because we don't like a dry turkey. But
and birds, chickens and turkeys both. I don't believe in cooking a bird whole.
Yeah, we do it a certain
putting
way.
it in the oven all formed up. So what we do,
it's not going to cook right
evenly. It doesn't cook evenly. Yeah. So what I do is, and I'm the cook of the family. I think you guys know that already. I think we've said that. But I love to cook. And what we do is cut the backbone out of the turkey or chicken. When we cook chicken, we do the same thing.
Yeah. We cut the backbone out of the bird.
We cut the backbone out of it, and I take a knife and I kind of knock the breastbone so it's cut a little bit, and I just flatten the whole bird.
So it's almost like you crack the bird open, you've opened it up,
and you lay it flat.
Yeah.
So for Thanksgiving, I take the stuffing, and I like cornbread stuffing, but we also, I kind of grew up on traditional stuffing, so I like both, but most of the time we normally have just traditional stuffing, but I put sausage, like breakfast sausage. I chop it up, I brown it and chop it up and put it in there with onions and celery and chicken broth, and then I take that whole pan that I did up with the stuffing, I slide it on the bottom rack, and then the turkey goes directly on the top rack, which is in the middle of the oven, right? Right over the stuffing, and it just drips.
It turns into
all that goodness down into the stuffing. The edge of the stuffing gets all crispy and crackly, and the skin on the turkey. I don't cover or tint our turkey. I heat the oven up to 450. Actually, this year I did 500.
Yeah, we did.
I crank up the oven, but somewhere between 450 and 500, right? And once it preheats, you stick your stuffing and your turkey in there, and you let it cook that way for 30 minutes to an hour at that high temperature, and then turn your oven down to about 325. Let it finish out cooking. Guys, once that turkey breast,
it's well worth it.
Once that turkey breast hits 157, the rest of the turkey is at the perfect temperature. Your outside dark meat that is going to be more juicy, and it can take that higher temperature. It is a little bit higher temperature, but it doesn't dry out because it's legs and thigh meat. It's moist meat. Yeah. And then that turkey breast.
As fabulous as that is, and it is so good.
Oh, and it is so good.
So good.
So good.
However, in my opinion, not in his opinion, but in my opinion, if that were to change from a turkey to instead be a chicken or a roast or a ham, see, that would be just as fabulous to me if he were to cook that with our Thanksgiving meal instead of turkey. See, to me, I don't get hung up on what our meat is or what the protein is, because I tend to love all kinds of meat. I love all kinds of protein, and it all tastes wonderful. And you cook it so well. So to me, I don't get hung up on the turkey as being the main event. But for you, it is.
For me, it's the turkey itself isn't necessarily the main event, but you need that turkey. You need the turkey to make the dressing.
I know, baby.
What it is. You need it. Sorry, guys. Just checking the audio here. I am a complete fan of turkey. For Christmas, it's sad we don't do turkey. We do usually do like a standing rib roast.
It's not sad. The rib roast is just as wonderful.
I do love rib roast, but I have a thing with the rib roast too. So the rib roast I love because you can't have Yorkshire pudding without the drippings from a rib roast.
No, that is true.
And
it depends on whether you love Yorkshire pudding, but that's true.
How could you not love Yorkshire pudding? It's so good. So good.
Some people are watching their weight.
Oh, man, not during the holidays.
Sadness,
look,
if you're... Some people do.
Oh, no. You got to have your Yorkshire pudding. You got to have your piping hot rib roast drippings for that Yorkshire pudding. And you got the batter all mixed up, and you got your muffin tin in there with the drippings in each little cup, and you pull it out, and it's like bubble, 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 sizzle, sizzle, and then you drizzle the batter down in there, and it's like poof. Oh.
And guys, it's not the holidays until he has burned or cut himself. Never fails.
I do.
Every
it's
year.
Okay.
Every year he's got to burn or cut himself in the kitchen.
Look, guys, when I cook, if I burn myself, I know
it's going
to be a good dinner. If I don't burn myself, it's a 50-50. If I burn myself, I know it's going to be on point.
He's got to sacrifice a little bit for that good meal.
Yeah, because you're not putting enough love and effort and work into it. If you don't burn yourself.
Evidently, that's what I'm doing wrong in the kitchen, guys. I'm not hurting myself.
You're not burning yourself. That's right.
But I do look forward to the time of year when we can have our homegrown veggies for the Thanksgiving banquet, for the and for the Christmas meal. I want our veggies on the dinner plate. And sadly enough, this year, like I said, we were behind. Didn't get any of our greens, any of our
we didn't grow
veggies.
Pole beans. We didn't.
Didn't have any of our homegrown nothing on our Thanksgiving dinner plate. So that was a little bit of a letdown, but I was still grateful. I was still grateful for everything that we are going to grow, everything we're going to have. So just trying to be grateful for all that we have, and better planning for next time,
Yeah, better planning. Yep, that's it.
Speaking of that, I was going to say that we don't talk enough about things that we have learned, things that we've adjusted to, things that we do differently, because we found out that this doesn't work. The mistakes that we've made that we've learned
like
from
the timing
in the garden. like the timing and a million other things that we've learned over the past 5 years about what not to do or what to do to make sure that you can get a harvest. You know?
Yep. You got something specifically you're thinking of?
A couple of things come to mind. Number one would be timing. Number two would be, like I said, the temperature of things. We did not know. I think the first 2 years that we planted, we did not realize that. I know it makes sense, and you'd think, duh, but a lot of people don't consider this when they're putting their transplants into the ground, that if you put them into cold soil, they're not going to grow in the amount of time that you're expecting them to. They actually might be stunted, and they may not grow at all. So putting them in the warm soil when it's still warm is essential. And the spray regimen, I did not realize how heavily
intensive
we need to stay on top of that, especially if we're doing it as organically as possible to keep the pest pressure off, because that might not be as big of an issue in spring, but it definitely here in the South is a big issue in the fall. If you're having a fall garden, like some of these people that we were talking about that have these luscious veggies and these beautiful leafy greens, how in the world did the bugs not eat them up?
Yeah, I think too it depends on the year. So some years it's okay.
Yeah,
some years,
that's true.
Once you get a couple cold nights, it kills off a lot of that pest pressure. Yeah. But going into it, when you're planting it in the end of summer is when we should have planted.
Right.
We should have planted in late summer.
And the bugs are still in full force. So the bugs sometimes will eat up all your crop before you even get one.
Yep. So we definitely last year we were fighting the pests when we had that stuff in on time. But you just have to stay on top of it when you're doing like a spray regimen and you're doing that kind of thing. And then with the soil temperature, a lot of these fall crops, they're going to survive cold nights and frosts and things like that. But kind of what she's speaking of is like when you put those transplants in the ground, you need them to really just take off. And if that soil is cold, they may not die, but they're going to do kind of like our cabbage we got in late last year. Yeah. And it never died, but it never made cabbage.
Either. It never got any bigger than like yay big. It just didn't develop. It didn't take off and start to become a cabbage. So it just evidently it needs that warm soil to kind of really get well established and take hold and take root and really get going before it can withstand that cold. Because if you throw it into the cold, it's not going to do anything.
Now, one thing that we mentioned we were going to talk about later in the podcast is something that actually is kind of our I kind of see it as our insurance policy for making sure we get some greens this year since we planted so late. And that's, I don't know if you guys can see it back there. Those of you who are watching, those that are listening, it's our green stalk. We bought one of the 7-tier leaf, I think is what they call it, leaf green stalks. Yeah. It's got 42 pockets in there to plant in. 42 Yeah,
plants.
So that's obviously nothing compared to our main garden.
Right, it's not a huge garden, but
for a normal person growing a normal backyard garden, it's easily, I mean, we got just as many plants in there as we would get in a raised bed.
Right.
In like a 4x8 raised bed.
That's substantial. I was saying on our video that just came out, I was saying how that's basically a raised bed, just vertically instead of horizontally. It's a vertical raised bed. So if you're short on space, can't do a raised bed for some reason, or whatever the case may be, that could sit on a balcony.
A balcony. It could sit inside your house.
Like it could be anywhere.
If you just had like a big picture window or something. Like, I mean, so you want something that it's going to get plenty of light, but it could just sit there, there. And it's on a spinner bottom, so the whole thing just spins.
Yeah, so you just wonder how you're going to walk around it or water it, especially if you stuck it on a balcony or in a corner and you can't navigate around it. It literally just rotates. It just spins, so you just gently spin it as you check on it, water it, fix it, mess with it. It just spins.
Yep. Yeah, so it's awesome. And you don't have to water each compartment. The green stalks, I don't know if you guys know how they work, but you pour water in the top. There's a little top container up on the top. You fill up the top container, and then that water, it both trickles into the top layer, but it also goes down a center hole, and each of those 7 levels has its own little disc that the water goes down the center hole and it fills up the disc of the next level and it drains into that level.
Yeah.
And then all the way down. So
it just disperses and disperses and
Yep.
disperses all the way down to make sure everything gets an even amount of water
Right.
and to make sure every cell gets water.
Yep. And then on top of that, each level has its own drain holes that drain into the level below it. So once that top becomes too saturated, it's going to drain into the level below it.
Yeah.
Once that's too saturated, it's going to drain all the way down. So it actually
got that main
has 2
drain,
ways of
hose at the
dispersing.
bottom.
Yep. And then once it gets to the bottom, it drains off the bottom, and it has a little, like she said, a little drain hose that you hook up. So if you have it inside, you actually could just clamp off the drain hose on the bottom if you wanted to. And whenever you're ready to drain the water out, like when you're going to water it or something, you could just point it out the, I don't know, your sliding glass door or the front door or the back door or something, water it, let it drain, and then move it back where it needs to go.
Or do you have like a pan or a little bucket or something that you want to
or you could drain into a pan or whatever.
But when you're not watering it or not draining it, like you say, you could tie it off, clamp it off. But it's got a drain hose in the bottom so the water doesn't just sit and sit and sit, it drains off.
Yep. Now they also have
my chicken Lana,
yeah.
our wandering silver lace Wyandotte that always follows us everywhere, literally everywhere.
Time for me to switch the camera.
So she follows us everywhere into the garden and everything, and she is all up in our business. Everywhere we go, she wants to be there. She is Lana, the wandering chicken. Lana, baby. I'm going to get her real sweet one day to get her where she'll like jump up on the table or jump in my lap. I can pet on her.
Yeah.
I'm going to get her real sweet one day.
Now they make these green stalks. You can buy them. You don't have to. They don't have to buy them in 7 layer or level or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be quite that big.
You can buy them in 5, or you can buy the 7 and not use it, or you could buy the 7 and you can buy extra parts. So you can buy the 7 tier, 1 tier, that's the word I was looking for, not level, tier.
Sorry, tiers,
you can buy the 7 tier one and then just buy an extra bottom and an extra watering tray for the top. And you can have a 4 tier and a 3 tier.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want separate ones. Or,
so yeah,
or
if you needed smaller ones, Yep. If you didn't have enough room for the 7 one. Now, to give you guys a frame of reference, this greenhouse isn't quite 6 feet tall. It's a little bit shorter on this end than it is the end where the green stalk is. So the side with the green stalk is probably about 5'10", and that green stalk comes up, I don't know, it's probably 1.5 feet down. So I want to say it's maybe like 4.5 feet tall, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember the specifications on it, but 4.5 to 5 foot tall. So it's easy to fit somewhere. And
and we were thinking we were going to have to place it outside the greenhouse. So we were thinking surely this
gonna be taller.
green stalk is not going to fit in the greenhouse, but it does. So again, keeping it warm and out of the rain and elements and stuff, we just put it right here in the greenhouse, and I think that's going to work out just fine.
That goes back to the insurance policy. So we planted collards in there. We planted, what else? We put collards in there. We put lettuce in there.
We put all our herbs in there.
Yep, we put some fennel in there.
Some
parsley.
Oregano.
Nope, no oregano, but we put cilantro, dill, and parsley. Those are the 3 herbs that we put in there.
Yeah, dill, cilantro, parsley.
We put beets in there, but not really for the beet. We're hoping that we'll get some good beet greens from it.
He's wanting some beet greens.
That's my favorite greens, guys, beet greens.
We're gonna have actual beets out in the garden, but he's wanting beet greens from the green stalk.
When we used to live in Indiana, there was a small 5-acre farm just down the road from us, probably 10-15 minutes from us.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Coulee Farm.
The Coulee Farm. Yep, the Coulee Farm. This is in Lafayette, Indiana. I don't think they sell anymore, but they had a little shop that they sold all their produce and veggies from. And man, everybody came there.
And he had only 1.5 or 2 acres?
No, 5 acres. It was 5 acres.
Okay. It was like a
5-acre
small
lot.
amount a little lot, and you could see it from the road. It was like you could see his whole little square.
Yeah, he had like 3 greenhouses, and then he had stuff outside the greenhouses.
And it looked like comparably, it looked like he had maybe the size of 2 of our garden beds going, and that's about how much it looked like he was growing in there. But off of that little garden and that little garden space he was working, he supported himself. Like that was his job. That was his main gig. He said
so he did, yeah.
It took him a long time to get there, but he said he was successfully selling from on-site and doing it as a full-time primary job.
So one of the things that he would sell is beet greens.
Yeah.
And I had never tried them, and so he just gave me a bag one time to try. The other thing he gave me one time was sweet potato greens. Because even up in Indiana, guys, you can grow sweet potatoes. You know how I know?
Come on, baby.
Because he grew them. Hey, Milk.
That's not
What
milk.
you doing?
Nope, it's not
No?
milk. Nope. I think it's Tiger. Yeah, it's Tiger.
Let's see.
Mew. Yeah.
Sorry, got distracted by the cats, guys.
Oh,
Oh, no, that's not Tiger. That's Milk.
No, it's not milk. No.
Tiger has all the weird stripes. Come here.
Oh, you might be right.
Come here. Yeah.
So we have 3 calico tiger stripe looking males that kind of almost look the same. And I get them all confused. And we have 1 black female. She's solid black. So I like
and then
her.
we have Holly.
And then we have Holly. Mama Holly cat.
But he would sell sweet potato greens and beet greens, and then obviously he would sell the sweet potatoes later in the year. But oh man, so good. Beet greens are like all buttery. Dang, honey, you're all distracted over there.
Sorry, I'm loving them, my kitty. Yeah, they are good. I actually tried them with you. They're savory.
Really buttery. They got it. They're not as quite as earthy as a actual beet is, but it's got a little bit of that beet flavor. But it's just really, really, really good.
It's that rich, hearty greens.
We eat them. We eat them raw, or you can cook them like spinach or anything else.
And that was really cool because
good.
we got the little stop by the farmer shop experience on the way home. So we'd hit his little, farmer shop market thing. We'd hit his little place right down our road and just go home. 2 minutes later, we were home, and we got farm fresh produce right to our table. So that was nice.
It was awesome.
That kickstarted our desire to want to do this.
And that's the first time I had ever seen anybody grow their own onion starts as well.
Yes.
So he would get a big old I want to say I think they were like concrete mixing tubs, but they looked like the big gray busboy tubs.
Yeah.
And he would fill it with dirt, and he would just sprinkle
copious
copious amounts of onion seed in there, and they would come up, and he would grow his own onions. He did his own onions, his own garlic, his own sweet potatoes, his own everything. There was.
Yep, he was the icon of self-sufficiency in that neighborhood.
Yep.
Self-sufficiency was Kevin Coulee.
Yep. A lot of people think of the South when they think of growing sweet potatoes, and when you live up north, you think you can't grow things like that, but. He grew them with no problem. He grew them no problem. He had no issues, and they were amazing sweet potatoes. They were delicious. So good.
Everything he grew, I had no complaints. Good. Everything he grew was fabulous.
Yeah, so good. Well, can you think of anything else?
Let's see. Our green stalk updates. Lily's birthday, holidays. What are we up to next in the garden? What's next? I know we have to get our onions in. We're about to till that bed where we did the video where we pulled out the huge okra stalks, and we pulled all those out and we cleared all that bed. Our kids helped us. Got the whole bed cleared, got the drip tape pulled. We're going to run the tiller over that, and then we're going to get our onions in.
We got to get our onions in.
Onions are next.
And we've got some more broccoli and collards to get planted.
Some more broccoli and collards are coming in.
And I'm hoping to do it on some warmer days.
Yeah.
Where there's a span of warm days.
If we have a last little hit of warm, if we have a last shot of warm, that's when we really need to get them in.
Yeah, lately winter here, last year was a cold winter, but it wasn't always, when I say cold winter, what I mean is we had some days that were really cold and maybe a week or two that were really cold at a time. And then it would just warm up to kind of like it is now, where it would be
just steady.
60s in the day. And then at night it would be in the 40s. But, we would have a week or two where we would get down in the low 30s or upper 20s. Or last year, I think we had some mid to low 20 days or nights. But yeah, that's what we mean when we say that it was a cold winter.
Right. When we say cold, we mean 20s, maybe 1 or 2 nights of teens, and that's about it.
I think the worst part of it is a lot of people don't realize how the humidity affects the cold.
Yeah.
So if I'm out somewhere where it's not as humid as it is here, and it's 10 degrees outside, I'm happier than when I'm here and it's humid and it's 35 degrees. Mm-hmm. That cold is frigid.
I know.
It just goes to your bones.
When it's a wet cold, it's awful. It's horrible. It gets a chill going.
Yep.
Yeah.
And last year was just wet. No snow. We don't get snow here except maybe once every 8 years, but we got a lot of rain.
Incredibly wet spring.
Yep.
And I'm hoping and praying it will not be like that this time.
This year, yep.
We're due for a much drier spring, a normal spring.
I think that contributed to some of the failures we had last year with like the cabbage and stuff.
Definitely.
We got so much rain that we had a hard time
it just drowned
fertigating.
Everything.
Yeah, it drowned everything. It didn't ever dry out, and we couldn't fertilize it like we wanted to through the drip tape. So we were trying to side dress it, but then last year was the first fall we had grown in a lot of those beds. It was the first planting in most of those beds. And so we had a lot of runoff and water issues last year. So we would try to side dress, but I think a lot of it would run off. And it just didn't do well.
So depending on how this goes, I know it's bouncing back and forth right now. It does this in the fall and the going into winter. It'll bounce back and forth between warm, cold. So we're hoping for that one more shot of kind of that lukewarm weather, and then it can go into the cold for the rest of the season. Just hopefully not a wet cold.
Yep. I'm really hoping it's not a wet.
Hopefully,
wet
we will be coming up here soon in future podcasts. We'll be able to show you a little bit of the fruits of our labor.
Yeah,
we'll be able to cut some produce from the garden and actually bring it to the
those
table.
Those of you who watch, we could show you, and we'll try to be really descriptive for those of you who are listening. But I'm looking forward to it. I think we're gonna have a successful, even though we were late. I think we're gonna have a successful fall garden.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to be an awesome Christmas because it's Christmas.
It's Christmas. How
it's
can Christmas
time.
be bad,
yeah,
right?
Christmas is always great.
And we're going to be definitely on the ball with spring. We're going to have a serious jump start on the spring. We're going to get
I want to plant tomatoes super early this year in some seed trays.
And employ all of our education from all of our previous mistakes and make sure that we try to give it the best possible chance of having a tomato harvest, because we got 0 tomato harvest for the last
work we did,
for the last year. 0 tomato harvest for that, but a bigger tomato harvest is coming, I promise.
Yep. And I think the other thing I want to do is I want to get some more green stalks and try growing things in those during the spring and summer as well.
Now, what if our most successful gardening turns out to be raised beds and green stalks?
It won't be.
You sure?
Yeah. I think it'll be successful. I don't think it'll be our most successful. I just think it'll be different. I think that...
I have to say, we've had a lot of success in the garden, and we've had some awesome beans and hey, baby. We've had some awesome beans and some awesome broccoli, and we've had a lot of success in the big garden. But I have to say, my most successful plants, singularly, like my biggest and best thriving plants, have not been from the big garden. No, baby, no chocolate. It has not been from the big garden. It has been from either raised beds or potted plants or otherwise.
Timmy? This is Panda. Yeah, sorry, I was listening to you, I promise.
Yeah, kitty distraction.
Yeah,
I
it is.
understand.
Yeah, it is. It's distracting. A lot. We have had some good success from raised beds this year. By far, the most amazing, incredible thing was the raised bed that you had over there with the giant 7-foot pepper plant.
Now that's just a testament to the dirt that you're using.
Yeah,
because
exactly. That's exactly right. That's why I think the garden can be just as successful, the in-ground garden, but the dirt out there isn't the same as the dirt in the raised bed. It would take a
lot of time out in a big garden. It's going to take a lot of time to amend that soil, to take the time and effort to do the cover crops, to pour on the compost or the manure or whatever you're doing to make that soil better. It's so much easier to amend the soil in something small rather than a huge garden.
But if you're doing a normal sized backyard garden, and you've got like just a normal sized bed, and you don't have quite like 40-foot by 50-foot beds that we have, you could easily get away with an in-ground bed, and it wouldn't be nothing to really amend it, Yeah, definitely Panda. Milk's not quite so jumpy.
You're jumpy, baby.
So Milk and Panda look almost identical.
They do, they do.
Their stripes are a little bit different, and Panda's head is bigger. The biggest difference is Milk will be in my lap in a heartbeat, and Panda not so much. Like Panda wants to be pet on and snuggled, but
it's not so much of
not
a needy snuggler.
Not the snuggler needy cat that
Milk is
Milk
desperately needy baby. He's so spoiled.
Yeah, and Milk's not really jumpy at all. Milk is just always there.
Baby. And if we didn't have indoor dogs, these cats would come right on inside. They are not indoor cats. They are barn cats. Yep. They were born in that barn right over there. Y'all can't see right on the other side of the goats where they are. They were born there. They've known nothing but this homestead. This is the farm that they have known their whole lives. There are mousers. They are good mousers. They keep all the critters away from the farm that shouldn't be here and all the pests and stuff. And they basically protect the homestead too, because I haven't seen any even aerial predators, are kind of scared to come over here. So these are some good barn kitties. Yep. But be not deceived. If we did not have indoor dogs, these cats would be coming inside to lay in our beds. They are so spoiled and so pampered and so people friendly. They would come in the house on us.
Yep. Already they meet the dogs at the front door. When you open the front door, cats and dogs staring each other down almost every time.
Yeah.
They're a little spoiled.
Just
a little bit. All right, with that, guys, if you have any questions, make sure and let us know. Any questions or comments down below in the comments. Shoot us an email, whatever. Just let us know if you got any questions or comments. We love to have that interaction and to get to know you guys a little bit better and to be able to answer some of your questions that you might have.
Yeah, that gives us topics to talk about on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We are, with it being Thanksgiving, as a family, we talked a lot about what we were grateful for. One of the things we are so grateful for is you. We are really grateful for you guys and the support that you give us and the encouragement that you give us. Thank you so much. And with that, I think that kind of wraps it up, huh?
Yeah. And good things take time.
Good things take time. Yep.
We are going to give y'all more good things as time allows.
Yep. We will catch you guys
in the next video.
one.
Bye.